Okay, back. So I was working on Golden Sun, but I was getting super drowsy when I was working on that. Like I got a good chunk of it done, but yeah, I was I was about to knock out while I was working on it. So I'm going to do this until I can't do this no more. I'm gonna go take my old man nap. I'll come back later. I'll do some more of this. But I'd rather at least get some of this done before I go to sleep. Like I have no idea what was going on. I just got very drowsy. Okay, let's go get back to this. I'm pretty sure yesterday we brought up the introduction. So I think section 1, if I remember correct. Oh yeah, I did get a chance to actually go over that quote a little bit, so I'll fix that later after my power nap, old man nap. Yeah, I don't know. I just got very sleepy. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, so we'll adjust that later when I get the chance. Let's start section 1. If I remember correctly, section 1 was more so about the persona of the detective. Okay, the persona of the detective. We'd have to talk about We're going to talk about Irving Goffman, but we're definitely going to be talking about him. We have to mention him. Okay, let's go. So let's get about a good chunk of work done, then I'll come back later and I'll do some more with this. Battler. Okay. Battler just doesn't become the detective. Because Battler doesn't just become the detective because he's certain of the truth. So definitely we again have to be very careful. We don't want to go into weird, we don't want to cross the event horizon into speculative theory shenanigans, because all hell would break loose, especially in this series. So I have to be very careful about what I write. Ballard doesn't just become a detective because he's certain of the truth. He becomes a detective because it's safer than what can't be explained. Facing what can't be explained. Okay. So the game board. Some structure. Where emotions, a battlefield where emotions. A battlefield where emotions. unresolved. In a family soaked in tension, death, and unresolved pain. Butler doesn't just become the detective because he's certain of the truth. He becomes the detective because it's safer than facing what can't be explained. The game board grants him structure, rules, logic, a battlefield where emotions can be reframed as clues and chaos becomes manageable through reasoning. In a family soaked in tension, death, and unresolved pain, becoming the rational outsider allows Battler to distance himself intellectually and emotionally. Okay. The Goffman tie-in is going to be very interesting. Off topic, this one temple, there's a lot of shenanigans in the background. Oh my god, there's some very dark implications with the Forest Temple. I see where I can go with this more. Again, I do have to mention Gotham soon. As usual, I think aloud, just don't mind me. Battler doesn't just become the detective because he's certain of the truth. He becomes the detective because it's safer than facing what can't be explained. The game board grants him structure, rules, logic, a battlefield where emotions can be reframed as clues and chaos becomes manageable through reasoning. In a family soaked in tension, death, and unresolved pain, becoming the rational outsider allows Battler to distance himself intellectually and emotionally. Poppycock. Give me 1 second. Becoming the rational outsider allows Battler to distance himself intellectually and emotionally. What? I'm gonna take my old man nap, and I'm gonna hate myself when I wake up because I'm like, damn, I'm not gonna be able to fall asleep later tonight. But I don't know what it was. I was doing Golden Sun for a bit, and I just got very tired. Well, either way, that looks like that's gonna be like a 25-minute video, so a little bit shorter than the other one. This is the Corvus mask. Not intellectual superiority, but emotional retreat. Oh yeah, this will be interesting. Emotional retreat. So carrying on with that, by engaging with witches. Interesting. He engages with them like metaphors, though. Engaging with witches as metaphors, tricks or puzzles. By engaging with witches as metaphors. metaphors. I engage with witches as metaphors, tricks, or puzzles. He rewrites. Okay. I engage with witches as metaphors, tricks, or puzzles. He rewrites the nature of the conflict. Pain becomes a riddle. Grief becomes a performance. Okay. All right. Let me read this all over again. I have to mention Goffman soon. I'll probably mention Goffman now. Ballard doesn't just become the detective because he's certain of the truth. He becomes a detective because it's safer than facing what can't be explained. The game board grants him structure, rules, logic, a battlefield where emotions can be refined as clues, and chaos becomes manageable through reasoning. In a family soaked in tension, death, and unresolved pain, becoming the rational outsider allows Ballard to distance himself intellectually and emotionally. This is the core of his mask, not intellectual superiority, but emotional retreat. By engaging with witches as metaphors, tricks, or puzzles, he rewrites the nature of the conflict. Pain becomes a riddle, grief becomes a performance, and Beatrice as an opponent becomes an enigma. Alright, we gotta talk about Goffman. For now, I'll write a Spark Notes explanation, then I'll refine it later. I know bits and pieces of Goffman, but not that much. Okay, we'll write what comes to my head, and we'll write something just to get like a baseline. Then later on, I'll come back and I'll like straighten it up a little bit more. That's why it helps taking sociology in school. He argued that identity... He argued that identity... Alright, I'll have to highlight that later just to make sure I look over it. Is often a performance. It's often a performance such as a persona, such as a persona, such as a persona, damn it. It's just a persona adopted. Okay. I have to definitely confirm that later. That should be a rough. It should be a rough explanation of it, but definitely I'll have to look that up later. Sociologist Irving Goffman argued that identity is often a performance such as a persona, adopted depending on the audience and context. So in Battler's case, Battler's detective persona. Battler's detective persona. Battler's detective. Persona. So. In a way, it's a structured role. In a way, a structured role. In a way, a structured role. In a way, a structured role. Wait, structured role. In this way of structured role in which he is not required to feel. Only think. Alright, I gotta read this all over again, because there's a lot of stuff happening here. Battler doesn't just become the detective because he's certain of the truth. He becomes the detective because it's safer than facing what can't be explained. The game board grants him structure, rules, logic, a battlefield where emotions can be reframed as clues, and chaos becomes manageable through reasoning. In a family soaked in tension, death, and unresolved pain, becoming the rational outsider allows Battler to distance himself intellectually and emotionally. This is the core of his mask, not intellectual superiority, but emotional retreat. By engaging witches as metaphors, tricks, or puzzles, he rewrites the nature of the conflict. Pain becomes a riddle, grief becomes a performance, and Beatrice as an opponent becomes an enigma. Sociologist Irving Goffman argued that identity is often a performance such as a persona adopted depending on the audience and context. Battler's detective is just that, a persona. In a way, a structured role in which he is not required to think, only feel. That can be a little bit better. That can definitely be a little bit better. This is why I didn't want to do that horror game analysis video. Well, not the horror game, the horror movie analysis for the other video. It's like there's my entire street is so unpredictable. Like a tree fell on that house right next door to me during a mystical space typhoon storm we had the other day. I have privacy trees around my property, so I didn't have to worry about a tree falling on my house. But the owner had an ancient oak tree over there, and it just fell around top of his house. So it's like there's a lot of noise happening in the background. So there's too much different variables here that prevent me from doing a horror movie analysis on my running video. But wait till I get back to my barracks, then we'll see what we can do. This whole little section right here is gonna be so much better. What I'm thinking is I can do a very weird hot take, but I can strengthen it later. Yeah, all right. We'll go with that route, and we'll try to strengthen it later at least, or at least support it in a good way. Is logic. Okay, yeah, we can do this. All right, it's supposed to be 12:30. Okay. That's interesting. I could probably do this. So at first they work. Oh boy, yeah, definitely says it's definitely starting to hit me now. First they work. So I'll finish this take and we'll start wrapping it up. At first they work. The detective will... Okay. It turns a horror into a mystery and... Yeah, let's move forward by looking inward. I'm thinking of something, but I know the way I'm gonna write this is to throw shade at Rosa. Everything throw shades at Rosa. Alright, fuck it, we'll just go with it. Masks. Shout outs to Rosa. Oh boy, this is like the second time I threw shade at Rosa. They only delay the recognition. They only delay the moment of recognition. The moment. We can still strengthen this a little bit more, but let's look at the length so far. I don't want to go that like lengthy in these sections. That's not that bad. All right, so let me just read up to Goffman, because I know when I wake up later, I have to fix this, because this is just a rough explanation of the theory. Sociologist Irving Goffman argued that identities often are a performance, such as a persona adopted depending on the audience and context. Ballard's detective is just that, persona. In a way, a structured role in which he is required not to feel, only think. His logic, his defiant posturing, his refusal to entertain fantasy, these aren't acts of confidence, they are rituals of avoidance. At first they work. The detective role creates emotional distance. It turns horror into a mystery. The guilt into misdirection. It lets him move forward without looking inward. But masks don't erase the face beneath. They only delay the moment of recognition. Yeah, I threw shade at Rosa again, but it works in that. It works in this scenario. Okay. Save that. Again, what the fuck? Okay, so again, as mentioned, I was getting drowsy when I was working on Golden Sun. I don't know why, so I did this. I'm gonna go take my old man nap. I'll wake up. I'll do more Golden Sun on off stream. I'll do horror. Now I'll wrap up the night with this, so be expecting 2 more streams later. Other than that, we out. If I don't see you, see people later, and slowly but surely, this is getting done. All right, have a good one. I'll see people next time.